Good morning, class. This is Niall Hislop speaking. We're here at the Edmonton Food Bank to do our walkthrough of a warehouse environment and a food bank setting. So one of the first things that we look for at the food bank when we come in is we are going to determine what kinds of activities are occurring on site. Now, the site here does a wide variety of food handling and repackaging, but that's not always the case in every food bank setting you go. So you'll want to sit down with the operators to find out exactly what is going on at that location. Now, administratively, one of the things that we're going to look for when we first arrive at any food establishment, including a food bank setting, is whether or not they have a valid food handling permit. I'm standing here in the reception area of the Edmonton Food Bank. They've got their permit posted on the wall. One of the things that we will check is that the ownership information is correct and that the date of issue is still valid. So the next thing that we're going to do when we arrive on site, of course, is explain the purpose of our visit, whether we're here on a monitoring inspection or a complaint, or there's some sort of follow-up that we need to do. Now, depending on the site, there's going to be a variety of activities that occur. One of the things that we're going to want to check if they are doing any sort of repackaging or food handling at the location is if there's someone that has food safety training. Now, the administrator of the facility should know who in the warehouse area or the repackaging area has that, but you'll also want to check up on what kind of orientation and training sessions that they have for the staff and volunteers of the site. So here we are at the loading dock for the Edmonton Food Bank. One of the things that we're going to look for in this area is that it's being maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. Is there loose garbage? Is there buildup? Another thing that we can look at in this area is the condition of the loading dock. You'll notice here that their loading dock is raised, and this is an important element of integrated pest management to prevent the entry of mice. Another thing that we'll look at is whether or not the doors are left open when they're not in use. As you can see here, the delivery dock is empty and trucks are not present, and the delivery doors are closed. Once we get inside, I'll point out some other integrated pest management features that prevent the entry of flying insects. Here we are inside the loading dock of the Edmonton Food Bank. A few things that I wanted to point out in this area was first the air curtain that is overhead on the delivery door for the trucks. This is a large fan that makes an artificial wall of air to prevent flying insects from coming into the building and is an important integrated pest management concept. If you look here at the entry doors, again, preventing insects and vermin from getting into a facility is of a critical importance. So we'll be looking at the weather stripping at the bottom of entry doors. We'll be looking to see that they have monitoring stations in place so that they can monitor pest activity and focus their efforts on the areas that need it the most. Again, it's really important that this area is kept clean and well maintained, so we'll be looking at if there is any garbage and stuff on the floor, whether or not there is evidence of insects and vermin in the area, part and parcel of starting the inspection of the warehouse area. So here we are in the loading dock, again, looking at another monitoring station where the trucks pull in. This is an example of a monitoring station for mice. All right, it's in a protective housing right in the area where the trucks pull in. It's part of reviewing a monitoring pest management program at a facility. The facility should know the location of each one of these monitoring traps. So here we are in the main warehouse. You can see the loading dock behind me. One thing that we're going to look for is the flow of food in any facility. So you can see that the food will come in, it'll be weighed on this scale, and then looking in behind us, there are a variety of walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers to put the perishable food away. Now, when product comes in, it'll be in a bulk box like you see over here. On the bottom of these, you can see that there is a metal boot. These metal boots are specifically designed in order to prevent pests from getting into the warehouse area that might be present in unsorted product coming into the facility. So one of the features here at the Edmonton Food Bank that they've built right into their walk-in coolers and freezers for integrated pest management are these concrete footers. Now, this is an active warehouse, so there's pallet jacks and forklifts driving through here all the time. These concrete footers prevent any damage from happening to the bottom of the cooler walls or the freezer walls. This is just thin metal and insulation, so these concrete footers prevent that damage and prevent cavities from being opened up in the walls that mice could otherwise hide in and nest in. So here we are outside the walk-in freezer at the Edmonton Food Bank. This area in here houses a lot of the secure food that's donated through Hunters Sharing the Harvest and the Second Helping programs. Once we go inside, I'll show you where we're taking temperatures and how the inside is organized. So here inside the freezer, there's a few things that we're going to look at. First thing we're going to do is we're going to take our temperature gun and take the temperature of inside the freezer. So it's anywhere from -14 to -20 in here. They are afforded the luxury of a lot of space. You can see a lot of the perishable products that are donated are brought directly in here. Other features that we want to take a look at include having spacing between the racking and the wall so that we can inspect those areas. So just like on the outside, the inside of the freezer has a similar protective barrier. So we have a metal footer here on the inside of the walk-in freezer to protect it the same as the concrete footer does on the outside. So another thing that we'll look at inside the walk-in freezer is certainly that is structurally sound. So you can see the walls are in good repair. You can see that the condenser fans over here don't have any ice buildup, and that the lights on the ceiling have protective covers in the event that they break. So here we are inside one of the walk-in coolers at the Edmonton Food Bank. Now, the Edmonton Food Bank's afforded the luxury of segregating their product for their different coolers. Now, there's a lot of turnover in a lot of these areas. As you can see, a delivery's just come in, and at the present time, this cooler is pretty full. We're going to take a temperature. It's about between 0 and -1. Certainly adequate to keep all of the perishable foods that are stored in this area cold. Like when we were in the walk-in freezer, we want to make sure that the area is clean and well maintained, that there's no structural damage, that the condenser fans are clean and well maintained, and that any lights have protective covers. So one of the things that we will look at when we're checking the walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers of any facility is seeing that their temperature gauge works and that it matches what we are finding with our own thermometers when we're inside. So here we are at another walk-in cooler. As you can see that they've got curtains installed to prevent the cold air from coming out. A lot of walk-ins have this. As an inspector, one of the things that you'll want to look for is that these are maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. They have to be part of their regular cleaning program. Let's go inside. Now that we're inside, there's a few things that we're going to look at in the walk-in cooler. First thing that we're going to do is take the temperature to see that it matches what we saw on the outside. We're going to look to see that the inside of the coolers are cleaned and organized. Now, you have to take into context when a delivery was done. If they've just had a truck come in, this area could be very full. You'll want to ask some questions about how long it takes to rotate stock through any particular area of the warehouse. Like the walk-in freezer, we're going to check the physical structure. We want to make sure that the condenser fans are being maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. We want to check that the lights have protective covers. And one thing that we'll notice in a lot of walk-ins is that they'll have pest management programs in place inside these areas. Mice can get in with incoming product, and from time to time product will be moved directly into these areas if it contains perishable food before it's sorted. So it's important for them to have monitoring stations and control devices in place so that should pests come in with incoming product, that they're caught in these areas. So racking in this area is set back from the wall. This is really important because it allows us to inspect these areas for signs of insects or vermin. It also allows the warehouse staff to put in monitoring stations in these areas. Garbage containment is very important. We're out back of the Edmonton Food Bank at their trash compactor. One of the things that you're going to look at, whether it's a compactor like this or a bin, is that the area around it is maintained in a clean condition. If there's a lot of spillage around these areas, it will attract insects and it'll attract mice right to the building. As you can see, these are often in close proximity to a door. So we do not want to attract insects and vermin right to where the entry points of a building are. This is a really good example of how we want to see the area around a garbage bin. So part of having walk-in coolers and walk-in freezers is certainly having a monitoring program in place for temperatures. Here at the Edmonton Food Bank, they have alarms in place that monitor the temperatures. That alarms will go off if the temperature falls outside a certain range. A lot of the smaller sites aren't going to have something like that, so you have to check with a warehouse manager or someone in charge to see that all of the coolers and all of the freezers are checked daily. Contingency plans are so important when you're dealing with high volumes of perishable food. When you're working with the food bank, make sure that they have plans in place for when a unit goes down so that they can move product to an area where temperature control is possible. Now here at the Edmonton Food Bank, they actually have a backup generator, and most locations that you deal with as an inspector are not going to be afforded the luxury of having one of these. This unit will cut in if at any time the power goes off to the facility. So when inspecting any food facility, you'll want to check all areas for evidence of insects and vermin. Having an effective flashlight to look in these areas is really key. As you can see, in the warehouse area here, we've got monitoring stations right to the back and no evidence of activity at all in terms of droppings or any sign along the wall. Not every area that you're going to inspect in a warehouse is going to be for food storage. Behind me you can see a number of pallets that are stored waiting for pickup. Now these areas are perfect harborage sites for mice. So you'll want to check with your flashlight in and around this area for evidence of activity. The other thing that you're going to need to do is talk to the operator about how long these will stay in this area. If they stay in this area for a long period of time, it increases the likelihood that it'll be used as a nesting site for mice. If, however, these are shifted around on a regular basis, the likelihood is much lower. So as you can see inside the bin, the product hasn't been sorted. There's a wide variety of things in here, everything from oatmeal to toilet paper. The site can't really be held accountable for what's in these bins because the product in these bins has not yet been sorted. Once staff and volunteers have an opportunity to go through this, they will separate it out into the different types of food and throw out anything that isn't wholesome or in a condition that is suitable to be donated to clients. So incoming product comes in these large bins. You can see that when it arrives, the food bank puts a date on this so that they know how long the product has been here. That's an important element of first in, first out, even though this product hasn't been sorted. You can also see that it has one of the metal boots to prevent any pests that might be in this unsorted product from getting into the warehouse area. Alternative product might come in boxes wrapped like this on a pallet. In instances where this happens, food bank staff do the utmost to ensure that this is sorted within 24 to 48 hours. Being a food warehouse, the Edmonton Food Bank provides an area for staff and volunteers to leave their personal effects while they're working with food. So now that we're getting closer to where the hampers are actually put together, we're seeing the first signs of product that has been sorted by warehouse staff. As you can see, it's been segregated according to the type of product that it is. In this area, we're seeing kids' juices, flour and sugar, coffee and rice, all waiting in bins to be put in hampers for clients. So here in the sorting area, we're going to take a look at some of the products that staff and volunteers would weed out before they go into hampers. So as an example, we've got a tin here that you can see is obviously bulging. Okay, we don't want any canned product to have evidence of growth like this. There's something growing in this can to make it bulge like this. Similarly, any incoming product that doesn't have the label on doesn't do the food bank much good. This could be anything from canned beans to dog food. Now, it's okay to have small dents on a can, but when cans are dented along the seam, where you can see that there could be a breach, or if they're severely dented to the point where they cannot be opened with a can opener, these should be discarded. Similarly, cryovac containers that show evidence of leaking or damage like the one I'm holding now shouldn't be distributed to clients. One of the questions that inspectors frequently get asked are with regards to best before and expiry dates. So products like cereal and canned goods do have a date on them that is commonly referred to as a best before date. Now, as an inspector, it's important to know the difference. A best before date is set by the manufacturer and is only a promise of quality. It has nothing to do with food safety. It is the date that the producer guarantees the quality for taste, texture, flavor. It has nothing to do with food safety. Where we will encounter expiry dates is with infant formula and baby food. When looking at infant formula and baby food, it's important to look at the date on these products. At the Edmonton Food Bank, they have individuals that look at the dates and write it in marker on the front of the product. As we will see in a moment, the dates that can appear on these products can be sometimes obscure. So this process, by writing a date on, makes it easier for volunteers to ensure first in, first out. So as you can see here, there's a variety of baby products. The date on these products is in a different location for each one. So as you can see that the person going through the incoming product has written the date here. Similarly on the formula, it's written on the bottom here. Makes it really easy to see. Baby food jars, depending on the manufacturer, will have them different ways. This one's pointed on the lid, but again, having an individual write it in a Jiffy marker so that it's very prominent really helps ensure that these products aren't distributed past their expiry date. Now, past the date, it's not that it's microbiologically unsafe. It's more of a nutritional quality issue. Because infants may have these products as their only source of nutrition, the nutritional quality will decrease past those dates, and that is why they're not allowed to be sold or distributed past that date. So what I'm doing here is I'm checking several points in the cooler for the temperature. It's important to take the temperature in several locations, as there can be variation. You can also see that these units have a built-in thermometer, which is important. So this area is mainly for their eggs and their dairy. So today's date is August 28th. As you can see from some of the dairy products in the cooler, we're getting very close to the best before date. So provided that it is properly refrigerated and unopened, this product will be good long past the best before date on the lid. If in doubt, if the food bank has received a large donation of products with a similar date, you can open one to ensure that it is not moldy. So every food bank will receive products that are not food. So as you can see in this area here, there's a variety of toiletry products that are available to hand out in hampers upon request. As an inspector, you're going to look at these products are stored adequately separate from food areas. So this is one of the most important areas that we're going to look at when we're inspecting the food bank. This is the area where bulk products are repackaged. So is essentially one of the only areas where open food is handled. First thing we're going to check in this area is the dedicated hand sink for hand washing. It's going to be very, very important that staff and volunteers working in this area have access to this sink, that it's accessible and equipped with soap and paper towels. The next thing we're going to look at is the condition of the surfaces. We want to make sure that the surfaces in this area are clean and sanitary. so that there's no opportunity for food to become cross-contaminated. This particular food bank has stainless steel counters, which makes that really, really easy. So this repackaging area is used for a wide variety of products. So they might be using it to repackage bulk flour, sugar, salt, or oats. Right now, they're using it for bulk egg containers. Now, given these eggs were just brought in and they're using reusable egg containers, they are redating them, as you can see here, with the date that they were packaged on. I mentioned at the beginning of today's visit about training programs for staff and volunteers. This is just one example of a bulletin board that's up in the warehouse area to help orient staff and volunteers that might be working in this area. Now, aside from these signs being posted in various areas of the warehouse, the Edmonton Food Bank will have public health come in and do orientation for their volunteers 1 to 2 times a year. This helps develop a working relationship with the food bank and its staff and volunteers outside of the regulatory visits that we do as monitoring inspections of the facility. So we talked about toiletries and diapers and non-food items. Like that, food banks will sometimes take donations of pet treat and pet food products. In a warehouse setting, all we need to look for in terms for public health is that these products are stored separately from other food products so that we have adequate separation. So you can see a lot of the product in long-term storage up on the racks is wrapped in shrink wrap. Now, palleted product wrapped in this manner can help prevent entry of insects into that product while it's in storage. So for the carts that might be used to transport product around the warehouse or to pick orders of some regard, we want to take a look that these are adequately cleaned and sanitized in between uses and that they're stored in a clean manner. As you can see from these, they meet both of those criteria.